Well. What do you know? We're already back for episode 8 of the Player Chatter podcast. It is a beautiful early afternoon here in South Florida on May 18th. It's a great Thursday. I hope everyone's doing all right. We're here to pick up where we left off on our last episode. I believe we were covering the conclusions of the semifinals in the East and West. We're anticipating the game 7 of the Sixers and the Celtics. We were discussing what the Sixers would have to do to pretty much redeem themselves after having gone up early in the series and pretty much blowing the lead, and what they could do to close out strong and move on to the next round. Apparently, they didn't get those things done. The Celtics moved on to the Eastern Conference Finals. What was ultimately uh, just an obliteration. I don't even really know what to call that game. It was pretty much up for grabs up until second quarter, and then third quarter just Tatum, man. I think he had 17 himself, and the Sixers as a whole entire unit only had 10. Speaking of Tatum, I do remember mentioning that there was someone out there who claimed that Tatum didn't have the so-called killer instinct that Kobe and MJ had, and it was bizarre. It was ridiculous, and you can pull up the receipts on Tatum. The man went to the finals last year. I don't know. I know it's a team sport, but come on, like who's leading the charge? Him and Brown, Marcus Smart, DPOY, like they're a great unit. But to say Tatum doesn't have a killer instinct, to compare him to that of Andrew Wiggins, meaning that he would be best at like a third option, second, third option, like come on, bro, that's freaking ridiculous. And I found out who it was. It's some analyst named Colin Cowherd, whoever that guy is. Here's the facts from Game 7, all right? Tatum broke some type of record where he's now the fourth player or whatever in NBA history with 20 or more games with 30 points, at the age he's at 25. Forget the stat. Who cares? He's doing this at 25. That's the most important part you can take from it. You made that comment. And when you made that comment, what were you thinking there? I need to know because he had 41 and 10 in the first three quarters, ended the game with 51 and 13 and 5. Again, he outscored the Sixers by himself in the third quarter. I don't know if he made some type of comment following that game to, try to like rescind what you said before, like redeem yourself there, but I don't know. I just needed to get that out before anything else. 'Cause I was kind of frustrated to look at. Tatum is not one of my favorite players, but I do like him for having that workout that he did with Kobe, same with Book, same with Giannis. I like all three of those players. And I'll be damned if anyone says they don't have some killer instinct or, they're not on that type of level when they clearly are. Like, what kind of statement was that? I just don't know. But again, props to the Celtics for obliterating the Sixers in that game 7 and moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals where they are facing Miami. Game 1 has already been played last night, and Miami won in a close one. Jimmy Butler again getting the job done, and the rest of the team stepping up. Um, I believe it's still missing Hero. I didn't see the entire game. I had it on in the background for most of it, so I don't have any notes or comments about it at the moment. I'm sorry, you guys. It'd be so nice to see Miami back in the finals, man. Just another Heat Lakers reunion. That'd be crazy. Again, shout out to Jimmy Butler, Bam, Gabe Vincent being key players on at least on the scoring and defensive end too, man. Like Jimmy had what 6 steals, 35, 6 steals, like insane. But before we get into that, I gotta give props to the Lakers for beating the Warriors in 6. A lot of people thought it would go 7 and be in the Warriors' favor. all thanks to that, what was it, it was the Coogee dog that tried to predict the series. It was nice while it lasted. At some point, I was kind of skeptical about it. I was kind of, superstitious about it too. I was like, "Damn, man, this dog might be right." Um, but that's that. But the Lakers, man, they definitely did what they came to do. Like Steve Kerr said, that team kind of maxed out, and he was right, man. They were in and out of the playoff picture back and forth. They were projecting, not to be in the playoffs at some point. Struggling to, stay within range of not having to be in the play-in. And you think about it, I mean, yeah, they made it past the Kings in the first round, but it went to seven, so it wasn't an easy dub. Draymond in this podcast said, at some point they figured the Kings out, and why that, may hold truth. It was still 7 games, so they might have had it figured out, but it took 7 games. It could have went either way at that point. So them losing in the second round in six, they did really well comparatively. They did amazing. And people are skeptical, not skeptical. People are conversing about whether the Warriors dynasty is over. And I agree with what Draymond said. Is always the people who've never been in a dynasty, or who don't look at the greater picture. Those core three players are still there. If you look back at the like 2015, 2016 teams where they had Harrison Barnes, if you look at Wiggins fits that role perfectly, and at an accelerated level, like a heightened level, he's truly found his place there with that Golden State team. And then, Jordan Poole struggled in the playoffs, but this year, but who cares, bro? It's 1 year. It's not the end of the world. Things happen. They can make it work. Clay was, struggling shooting wise. Things happen, yo. Doesn't mean he's falling off. Doesn't mean he's washed. What people don't understand is you can't predict an outcome of a game based off of names and age and simple stuff like that. Every game starts at 0-0. You have to go out there and perform every night, and that's a tough task to get it done, especially under the pressure of winning 4 out of 7 games. Against the same team who is, strategizing against you, same as you are to them. It's not something easy to do. I believe they have a solid bench, just needs a little bit of work, of course. Um, I'm not sure if Kaminga was injured. I honestly didn't check in on that. I didn't really do any research when I looked that up. I was wondering why he wasn't out on the floor much. Kevon Looney, like crazy, man. Man went off. There's nothing that says that he cannot do that again. Like they did great. And if in hindsight, if they underplayed, like if they maxed out, if that was the best that they could do, and they were struggling that season, like imagine, what would happen if they tweaked a little bit. DiVincenzo was great for them too, time and time again. Like they're still one of those teams that you can't count out. Just when you would look at the Spurs, before Tim Duncan and Tony Parker left, like when they're still a great team, you can never count them out from winning. Same thing, you can never bet against LeBron to go into the finals, man, with 9, 10 years in a row. You can never bet against them to go. Just the same thing when the Warriors are prominent going pretty much every year. You can never count them out. And they're still one of those teams that you can't count out. If they make it to the playoffs, you can't count them out. Same with Miami right now, the last couple of years. If they're in that play-in spot, if they're one of those bottom seeds, you can't count them out. You can't just assume that they're gonna lose. It's not about names. You have to go out there and win those games. But anyways, Miami stole home court advantage from Boston last night, and what seemed to be a great defensive effort, both individually and as a collective. They forced a lot of turnovers. They beat Boston in a 3-point game. And the important thing to remember is that these teams faced against each other just last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it went to 7. And Miami only lost by a few points. I believe it was 100 to 96. They lost by four in that game seven. So for people that are just saying that, oh yeah, Boston in five, like this is an easy wipe, you guys are wrong. Boston doesn't change their roster too much, and neither has Miami, for that matter. We're pretty much battling to get it out the same way as we did last year. And if you think about it, in the last 4 to 5 years, Miami and Boston have found themselves in this conference final setting three times, 3 to 4 times now. Like you had it in the bubble, you had it last year, you got it this year. If anything, as a sports bettor, look out for that. If you're gonna bet on anybody to reach the Eastern Conference Finals for any matchup to happen in some type of bracket or whatever, bet on Miami and Boston to make their way to the third round. But three things that they can do: one, they can continue to force outside shots. I think they need to keep them away from the paint, stay agile on defense as they have been, and feed into their scheme. And by that I mean they should focus on tackling the Celtics offense indirectly. They should allow Boston to feel comfortable before they attack. It's sort of like basic 3D chess. Um, Give it like a false pretense. Make them think that, they got this play going on, and then boom, you disrupt it midway. Leave them disoriented, and you can attack off of that. They've made it pretty evident to us that they're amongst the best in the league at generating offense opportunities from their defense. Secondly, they can continue to test Boston's agility. They can continue to attack their defense early in the later minutes of the game, just like they did in the third quarter to create that 46-25 run. They got to keep showing up. As mentioned before, the playoffs is also an endurance test. The Heat played hard all 48 minutes, and it definitely showed. Whereas people are saying that, Boston played only 3 quarters. Maybe they took lackadaisy in that third, or they became complacent somewhere down the road. I think the head coach Joe Mazzulla said they had the game plan, but they just didn't execute it properly. Miami is a team that you can't slip up on. Um, Miami honestly has showed us that it's an AC. Like I said, the game starts at 0-0. Anyone can go out there and perform and win the game. You have to win the game to advance at the end of the day. It's important. It's just also nice that they have a multitude of players that can give you 10, 15 plus at any given moment. That really helps their case. Because when they're in sync, it kind of like reminds me of an anime, Kuroko's basketball, like towards the end of the series, where they hit that like true zone. Everyone's in sync. Everyone's played at their highest level. When their defense is rolling, it's a done deal. That's what it feels like to me. They were able to guard Tatum and Brown rather well from three, and that was nice. I think they shot like 2 for 9 collectively, although they both pretty much dropped 25 plus. I think Brown with 24, Tatum with 30. That's over 50 plus. And Tatum got some really good looks at the free throw line. I shot 11 for 11. That's pretty impressive. But the player that they need to be able to contain outside of those two is Malcolm Brogdon, most definitely. He has been very consistent for them, not just throughout the regular season, but in the playoffs especially. And they can hold him as well as the other two. Boston doesn't have too many people in their arsenal, I believe, that can like give you that 20 points that they need from those three players at the minimum. So to summarize, I believe Miami needs to stay focused on defense. They need to keep up that intensity. And so long as they do that, there's not much Boston or any team in the league, apparently, just, they're in the top four right now. There isn't anything that these teams are going to be able to do against them. The finals is a whole other case, of course, but for this round, at least, if Boston can't overcome Miami's, grit and grind, then it's going to be over for them real soon. That's pretty much it for me today. Before we go, I'd like to go over some of the topics that you might see come next episode. I was thinking about discussing discussing the John Morant situation. It's been a couple days, since his IG Live video surfaced with the whole gun incident, and I had some people that's been asking me about that, and I told them that when you talk about a thing like that, it's not a discussion much of a criminality thing. It's more of a leadership thing. So we were thinking about taking some time out to speak on that. The playoffs will still be going on, of course, so you can expect continued coverage on the conference finals. And furthermore, this time around, we're going to be running some polls both on Spotify underneath the episode details and also on our Twitter page at Player Chatter. So don't forget to take a look at those polls. I will be checking them and we will decide what the next episode will be on based off of that. Till next time, you guys, thanks for listening. If you like what we discuss here on the pod and are wondering how you can engage, whether it's material you'd like to see covered or additional questions and inquiries about the Player Chatter podcast itself, please feel free to reach out to us via email at playerchatterpodcast@gmail.com or check us out on Twitter at playerchatter. Thank you, and I hope to see you all again next time.